The Trump administration is approaching its first 100-day mark with a full court press on the issue of illegal immigration, and they really don't want you to miss it. So they subtly and tastefully deck the White House North Lawn with dozens of yard signs featuring photos of people that the Trump administration claims are in the country illegally, each poster saying arrested and listing the alleged offensive with which they have been charged. CNN's working to confirm the identities and if there are actual allegations against these people. Until then, we are blurring their identities. That display was put up after the Trump administration announced nearly 800 arrests of undocumented immigrants in a massive crackdown in Florida over the weekend. Even though immigration has historically been one of President Trump's more popular issues, given he outperformed his first term high by 7 points earlier this year, something appears to be changing. A brand new CNN poll released yesterday shows declining approval ratings for President Trump's handling of this issue of immigration. Overall, 45% approved now. That's down 6 points from March. 53% are expressing confidence in the president's ability to deal with immigration. That's still a majority, but it is down from 60% in December. 47% of the American people say they have no confidence in the president's handling of this issue.
Obviously, the president has signed over 200 executive orders on immigrations in as nearly 100 days in office, and a lot of them have focused on immigration, some in ways that are directly impactful, including the ones that you saw Trump sign on his first several days in office. Today, they a lot of times also have to do just with messaging, including the one that he's expected to sign here shortly, Jake, inside the Oval Office. Right now, we haven't gotten an indication that's going to open to reporters, but we are told that it's going to relate to publishing a list of all the sanctuary cities in the United States, for example, as the White House is really trying to keep immigration at the forefront of their agenda and also highlighting what they have done on immigration, because that was one of his key campaign promises, Jake. And yes, you've seen the border crossings go down significantly. When you look at the numbers from January and then February, March, and since the president has been in the Oval Office, you've seen just how dramatically those numbers have dropped. And so the White House is trying to keep the focus on that. That's why the signs are behind me here at the White House focusing on that, because they do know typically it's one of his strongest areas that he polls in with voters. And they saw him coming into the White House arguing it was a mandate to secure the border. They've been facing way more scrutiny lately, Jake, though, of course, over some of the cases when it comes to who they are deporting and whether or not those people are being afforded due process as a part of those deportations from the United States, and also whether or not they're abiding by court rulings. They were just pressed this morning about a little girl who is a U.S. citizen who was deported along with her mother who is undocumented. And you saw Tom Homan, the president's border czar, arguing that was a parental issue. He kept pointing to the mother. That is something he's done previously when we've asked, well, what happens when a child who's in a mixed status household, one of their parents is deported? And they have often pointed back to just parenting in that case, Jake. And so certainly it is something that the White House is trying to highlight. But as you noted, those CNN poll numbers, the president's handling of immigration is down 6 points since March as they have continued to face a lot of court scrutiny over this matter.
All right, Caitlin Collins, thanks so much.
Kristen Soltis-Anderson, I mean, one of the things that has become sort of a feature of covering this administration is that when there are stories that are very negative for them, like the economy, they really want to change the subject to immigration, right? And you saw them kind of take this and, you know, they sent Caroline Leavitt and Tom Homan out to do a briefing far earlier in the day than these briefings are normally held, right? It was at 8:30 this morning. But in this case, I'm just really interested to know if you think, considering the data you see, that there is a point where Americans would turn on Trump over. There have been other instances where people will say that for this administration, the cruelty is the point of it. There's been some of that around DOJ and the federal government. They want to do this. Is there any sort of potential for backlash here? I mean, these kids are U.S. citizens. One of them had cancer. And then there's also this detail that the father of one of them filed a petition, an emergency petition, to say that he wanted the kid to stay. So there was apparently a dispute between the mother, who the government says wanted to take the child back to Honduras, but the father, who's here, did not. These are really sticky situations.
These are tough questions, but ultimately voters voted for Donald Trump to do a couple things: lower cost of living, secure the border, get immigration under control. We're always top of that list. And so he gets a very long leash from voters, especially from his own base, on this issue. And I think you've had a couple of instances where stories have popped up and they have been outrageous. The headlines really, grab your attention. And then slowly but surely other details come out that kind of paint a very slightly different picture. Oh, this person may have had this record, etc. In this case, it's horrifying to think of, what that 2-year-old or what that 4-year-old must be thinking. At the same time, Donald Trump's own base, I have not seen any sign of atrophy in terms of his voters' support for him on this issue, because they believe our immigration system was so broken before that even if there are going to be these headlines, for them, just getting the system fixed and addressing illegal immigration is worth it.
Should we be deporting these kids, Scott?
Well, I think we should keep the families together. I think Homan is right about that. And I think he's also right that if they weren't, people would be howling about it. I don't think Republicans believe that we should let the perfect be the enemy of the good when it comes to controlling what was a massive crisis created by the last administration. There are always going to be individual stories, but the overall program is pretty clear. Deport people who came here illegally, especially violent criminals, get the border closed, which they have effectively done, and you deal with the individual situations along the way. And you have to keep one thing in mind. Whenever you make exceptions, whenever you say, well, in this case, we'll give you some dispensation, the message then to everyone else is clear. Just get here and maybe you'll find a way to stay. That's what everyone else has done. They're not communicating that.
Are these people, though, the White House has also today put up pictures of people on the White House lawn with the crimes underneath them. I don't think there's any, the Kristen State is very clear on that, right? Here's what it looks like, right? Americans overwhelmingly say they want these people removed from the country. But these are mothers. Now, to my knowledge, there are no details of criminal allegations, aside from, of course, coming to the country. But there were rules where you could come and claim asylum, right? They're showing up at their hearings. They haven't disappeared into the country, and they have these little kids who are U.S. citizens.
Yeah, the policy question is, how many exceptions do you want to make? And the Trump administration and President Trump has always said, we're really not going to make any exceptions. And that's, as Kristen just said, that's what the American people voted for. Exception after exception after exception got us into the mess in the first place.
I don't agree with the policy, but I don't disagree with your assessment of this. Elections have consequences. Now, when Donald Trump said that he was going to deport criminals and the violent folks, I don't think when a lot of Americans voted, they wanted the mom and the kid deported. But it is very clear now to the American people that there are no exceptions that this administration wants. They want all immigrants gone that have come here without papers. Now, this will come back in the midterms. This will come back in the next election. This is an opportunity. I hate to talk about this because these are real people's lives, but this is an opportunity for Democrats. In the first Trump administration, the one time the issue of immigration actually started trending to become a more positive issue that broke through was during family separation. It was the one time in the years about this issue. If this becomes a family separation 2.0 where you see American citizens being deported, that one story could make it the break. The question is, will Democrats be able to take it and use it for their advantage?